All right, guys, if you're thinking about moving to Costa Rica and living in Costa Rica, obviously I always tell you to do your homework and research, right? And I try to keep you up on everything that's going on. And an informed decision is usually a good decision. And that's what I do. A lot of other people don't touch these subjects, but I do because I don't mind putting myself out there. All right. We are going to be talking about woke and woke culture and how what's happening in the United States, let's say Europe and Canada, is that impacting Costa Rica or is it not? And yes, when I say wokeness, I'm talking about the whole blacks, gays, trans, all the white privilege patriarchy stuff. So I know that's not everybody's cup of tea. You're like, ugh, I don't want to hear that. But you folks thinking about living here, maybe you should listen to it. All right, maybe you should listen to it. So I don't know if you need coffee for this one. I don't know if you need coffee or maybe some mouthwash, or maybe you're going to need to take a shower afterwards. I'm not sure. Pick one. Anyway, guys, I'm Michael Allen for TravelCostaRicaNow.com. TravelCostaRicaNow.com is a travel agency, so go to TravelCostaRicaNow.com. Fill out the 4-minute form, and you'll be that much closer to the vacation of a lifetime. We're like you, having best friends who live in Costa Rica, who know Costa Rica, totally hooking up your Costa Rica vacation. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I'd appreciate it. If you want to see our videos as we put them up, hit the notification bell. Yes, the relocation tours are still happening. Check below for the description. If you're thinking about living in Costa Rica and you want to know if it's right for you, this 7-day seminar might be right for you. There's one in 3 weeks, and there's also one in June. Link below. All right. So, we're going to be talking about kind of wokeness and how, again, what's happening in the United States impacts Costa Rica, and is it impacting Costa Rica? What's going on with all that? But before we start, though, we got to kind of come up with some base facts, we'll say, or generally speaking, because I could talk about some of these things probably for about 3 hours, but I just want to get some base facts going on. Okay, first of all, what is woke? What is that woke culture all about? Wokeness is the awareness of injustices regarding issues surrounding marginalized communities. Let me say that again. Woke is the awareness of the injustices regarding issues surrounding marginalized communities. And if you ask me, it was needed. Did you? Let's emphasize was on that. So I believe there's been a lot of progress in the last 200 years. I'm sorry. Facts are there. You can see progress, whether it's with the black communities, whether it's gays or trans or any of all of that. I think human rights is going in the right direction. Now, that said, and I don't know why people say this is the stupidest freaking comment ever. There's more that can be done. Well, no shit. Obviously, if you go, Michael, how are you doing? And I'd say, well, I'm working out, I'm eating healthy, I'm reading, I'm trying to meditate, I'm trying to get my mind right. But there's always something, I could do a little more. Well, no, of course. That's an assumed statement. You can always do more. Okay, so can we agree with that? Now, and I don't mean this sarcastically, I really believe if you don't like the progress, the way it's going, let's say in the United States, then maybe the United States isn't right for you. Go to another country that maybe is doing it better. Again, I'm not being sarcastic on that. I think we need to discuss, I would say that real quick, I don't think identity politics and playing the victim card is the way to go. I just believe, my personal opinion is, when you start off like that, I think it divides. It doesn't unify. And that seems to, why are we starting out the premise with, a separation? I don't really understand that way of thinking when we're trying to unite and unify. All right. I think we need to talk. Oh, I got to say, I didn't say it in the beginning. This is one of the top reasons I love living in Costa Rica. It's not my top, but it's in my probably top 20. We got to talk about prejudice and discrimination, right? Prejudice is a thought. Prejudice is a thought. You can think what you want. Discrimination is an action. And that's not so much allowed. There's laws against that. right? And rightfully so. But I love CR for that because I could be talking to let's say a couple, a Tico couple, and they're treating me right. They're talking to me. I leave and they go, you know, that dude has sex with other dudes. Ugh, that's so gross, man. That's disgusting. He's going to hell. I got no problem with that. That is none of my business what they think of me. All I know is they treated me right. And that's how Costa Ricans basically are. And we'll get into a little bit more of that later. But I love that. It's not my, I don't care. Say what you want, right? Oh, just real quick, because it makes kind of a tie-in. Remember that bakery thing? So if I go into a bakery as a gay guy and I was like, make me a wedding cake for a wedding I'll never have. But if the guy said, that's against my religion or whatever he said, I would be like, all right. Hey, I wouldn't. Now, I think it's kind of a dick thing. That to me, that's not really encompassing and, loving your neighbor type of stuff, but it is his right. And gay rights don't trump other rights. So I wouldn't want somebody to bake a cake that didn't want to bake me a cake. And then I'd probably go find the closest gay dude because he's probably going to bake a better cake anyway. All right. So again, you have rights, man. You have rights and you don't infringe on other people's. And if you don't want to bake the cake, you don't want to bake the cake. And again, with the gay stuff, I don't know if you guys know this, and why would you? If you're not, living in this world, this whole regurgitated alphabet soup shit, LGBTQR plus size, I don't know what it is. That's hijacked, man. Gay people aren't on board with that anymore. It has no meaning. It means absolutely nothing. And again, with the gay thing, there should not be pride flags in the classroom. There's one flag, and that's the United States flag. All the pride flag does is create a slippery slope of where's my flag? You live in the United States, it's a U.S. flag. We're united. That is the human right. That's everybody that lives there, and that's the only flag you need in the classroom, just so we're clear. And I got to tell you, again, gays and even the older transgender people, they are not on board with this radicalism. But you don't know that because all you see is these blue-haired losers, sucking up all the air, So now, toxic masculinity, real quick. We can talk about toxic masculinity. Tell me about your toxic masculinity when we're on the Titanic, all right? Get it? Right? So the truth is, men have always been disposable. Women are revered, and even more so now, right? So on the whole toxic masculinity, I just would say, ladies, be careful what you wish for. Okay? Let's go with trans real quick. Now, I don't want to do TMI on you because it is too much information. Me and trans, I'm friends of trans. Trans have been in my house, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So I live in this world, and part of that world is trans. And again, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. But there's only two genders, male and female. Gender dysphoria is real, all right? It's real. But we're going to follow the science first on, or the biology, the whole gametes and chromosomes and stuff, male, female, and things can deviate, let's say, from there. Now, it's also true that a 5 or 6 year old can feel like they're in the wrong body. See, that's a truism. See, you can't wrap your head around that. This is the problem. So, but that said, just because your 12-year-old's he's a fanboy of some dude on Instagram that, some kid that decides to be a girl and his parents transitioned him or whatever, and he's got like 7 million followers, and all of a sudden your son goes, Mommy, Daddy, I want to be a girl, and maybe they are feminine. Well, You got to let this stuff play out. So when you combine the truth of the matter about transgender and gender dysphoria and the fact that all that stuff is true, and then you combine social media with it, it does turn into somewhat of a social contagion as well. So what you need to do is take it slow. All that's confusing to kids. They don't know what they want. They can't make those freaking decisions. Are you serious? You can't start cutting off shit, all right, and giving people puberty blockers. You can't do that. You need a treatment plan. You need a plan. You can do other things to make little Johnny feel like he's Mary. You don't got to freaking start cutting, all right? All right, so now to me, the biggest benefit of woke, and I don't know, it wasn't called woke back when I learned this a lot of years ago. I like the fact that it did point to your unconscious bias. Because we do, but we all do. It's just not white people that have unconscious bias. Everybody has unconscious bias. You can have unconscious bias against fat people and Muslims and gay people and black people and Asian. You can have unconscious bias about anything. It works all kinds of ways. So the thing is, you just have to know it. So when you're looking at someone's face that is unfamiliar to you, or someone you don't know, you're not educated on, or you have no experience with, before you let your mind take hold of what, let's say the TV's told you or propaganda's told you, you got to go, okay, I'm thinking this is it. This is coming here. There should be no judgment on this person, any judgment until you have interaction with this person. I'd like to say the guy that left that comment a few days ago, don't take advice from a dude wearing or a guy having a neck tattoo. Let's just add in the faggy earrings too. So don't assume anything. Don't project your stereotypes of what you think things are to be true when you see people, a kid with one eye or whatever the hell it is. Get to know people, then maybe make that judgment, right? So have an understanding. And stop the assumptions. All right, let's move on to Costa Rica, dude. Let's get wokeness in Costa Rica. Is wokeness in Costa Rica? Well, it is true in the last couple of years, they've made some harassment laws. You can't be catcalling women. They've talked about, they've changed some of the immigration laws to make it a little more pleasant for the migrants that are coming into this country. I've heard the word inclusion a few times. So that's about kind of where it stops, though. Now, trans and gay is here. And I'm going to speak for Fortuna, because I can speak for Fortuna, because I've lived here 17 years. I am gay, and I am a friend of trans. Well, guess what? In the last 5 years, and this plays out on Grindr. Do you know what Grindr is? Grindr is a gay, it's basically a hookup app. If I opened my Grindr application right now, at any given time, there would be 5 to 6 transgender women on that app that live here. And again, I know a lot of them. Sometimes they congregate at the park. Sometimes the ones here tend to be younger. Some work at a bar or whatever. So they are around, and it's kind of that whole prejudice and discrimination thing kind of applied to their own culture. I know when they're walking around the park and they see these little 19-year-old twink boys, that are feminine anyway, and they're dressed up as girls, they just, honey, look at those, look over there, so that part is true. And I actually I could picture a scenario if possibly one of those trans women were by themselves, and they might get some cat calls or some ridiculed, or maybe, I don't think something too worse really, but for the most part, it's not so much accepted here. See, people go all about acceptance. Again, prejudice, discrimination. So it's getting to the point where it's tolerated here. So gay is tolerated. I've seen it. I've been thrown out of bars. I've made those videos. The gay thing is over in Costa Rica. The gay thing is over. The transgender thing, is at a pretty good place for them. You know, a lot of these kids doing that probably will end up, you know, trashing the wig in 6 or 7 years when they're, you know, more in tune and, you know, the frontal lobe, you know, is fully functioning. So, but again, so it's all here and not so much accepted, but kind of tolerated. And you have to remember, this is a traditional country still. It's still a Catholic country. All right. So they're not going to be giving up their masculinity anytime soon, toxic or otherwise. So it's not really going to happen. And then, you know how we like to change all the words? Well, no, not me. You guys in the United States and Canada and all the other places changing words and making people say shit, you know, that don't make stupid. Well, guess what? They really can't do that rhetoric here. Why? Because all the words are feminine and masculine. It'd be all big clusterfuck if they tried to change the language. And again, I don't think it would happen anytime in my lifetime. I just don't see wokeness coming here. But here's the big but, man. Here's the big but. But don't think woke isn't trying. Guess who's trying? Guess who's trying to bring woke here? Can you guess? I bet you can. Yes, you are right. Gringos, the gringos that come here, especially the younger gringos. And then there's this little subgroup. I don't know what you have in the States. Haven't been there in so long. But on the internet here, you got like 27-year-olds that are life coaches on the internet. Really? 27, you're a life coach? You tell me somebody that's 27 and says they're a life coach. I'm telling you somebody that has a lot of trauma that he's using you to try to make himself feel better or something. So you got that kind of, and I've seen it. Those gringos are here, but they're pretty much spaced out, and it really doesn't work. They can, you know, again, so if they try to push, or let me sit down, Tico woman or Tico man, I'm going to talk to you about wokeness. The Ticos will go, okay, yes, yeah, I understand. They don't care. They're going to be like, whatever. They don't want to. They're not going to. They're not really confrontational that way. So they might hear you out and maybe agree on a little bit, but they're like, stay away from that. Stay away from her, right? So that's kind of funny. So yes, it's the gringos. We always have to ruin shit. Coincidentally, this is good, and this couldn't have been a better time. So as I was writing this up and figuring out, I had a video that's been out for like 9 years called "Why Costa Rica Hates Gringos," and I get the notification when people comment on it, and somebody commented on a video. Here's what they said. This is so great, and they said it better than I can say it. I'm going to read it. As a Tico who was born in the USA, my people also do not like liberal progressive narrative and rhetoric which many gringos try to impose on our culture. There you got it. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. So what's this all mean? Keep your woke shit in the United States where it belongs. Hey guys, I'm Michael Allen for TravelCostaRicaNow.com. Peace, guys. Hope it helps. Things are going to pop up. Thinking about living or traveling anywhere. Always do your homework and research. And if it's got to do with Costa Rica, I'm going to put videos against anybody's. Yeah, I think it might be time for that shower.